The collapse of the brutal Assad regime over the weekend has been met with mixed reactions, mostly positive, but also expression of concern. As bad as the Assad regime was, the situation in Syria now is fraught with much uncertainty, especially for Christians and minorities in the areas that have been taken over by rebel jihadist groups. What impact might the latest developments have on them, and what could the incoming administration do to protect Christians in that region of the world? Joining me now to discuss this is Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, who serves on 4 committees, including the Select Committee on Intelligence. He's also the vice chair-elect of the Senate Republican Conference, and he served in Christian ministry for more than 20 years before coming to Congress. Senator Lankford, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to see you.
Thanks, Tony. I wish I could be sitting there with you in the live audience there, so thanks.
Well, they send their regards and their gratitude for the work that you do on behalf of families. So let's talk about the fall of the Assad regime. Where does that leave Christians that still remain in that nation? Because as bad as he was, he kind of had a hands-off approach when it came to Christians.
He did, actually. He allowed Christians to be able to be there. The challenge has been, for the last now decade and a half, is that there's been an ongoing civil war in Syria, so it's been chaos more than anything else there for the longest period of time. So we have groups like ISIS that has thrived in Syria. We have the new other terrorist groups that are there. Iran has found a highway through Syria to be able to deliver weapons to Hezbollah. Hezbollah has come in and reinforced Assad. So the Kurds that are on the eastern part of the nation, we have continued to be able to stand with them because they are more peace-loving and freedom-focused. So it's been total chaos in Syria for now a decade and a half. The challenge now is, how do the Syrian people reinvent a nation that's been in so much chaos post the Assad regime? And it is a very dangerous moment for both the Christians that are there and, quite frankly, everyone who is freedom-loving in that area.
Could this be yet another refugee crisis in the making?
It could be. Here's the interesting thing. Refugees that were Syrian refugees that had left and gone to Turkey or had gone into Lebanon have started returning back to Syria already. Now, that's just the beginning. That's the earliest days of that. But the Lebanese are seeing a little bit of optimism to say all these refugees that have been here, they may be returning back to Syria as they're trying to be able to rebuild their lives and their nation again. So it's unknown at this point, and that's the challenge, is you're praying for peace in the region on this, which is incredibly important to be able to have both for Israel and for all our allies in the area. It's that the freedom-loving, peace-loving folks that were refugees, as they return back, they help build a more peaceful, stable Syria long-term.
We've been discussing today the northeastern portion of Syria, where you have really a very eclectic gathering of people of different religions, different faith backgrounds, but operating and living in peace and in harmony. They have been under the thumb, the attacks of Turkey as they've crossed the border there. What do you anticipate their fate will be?
We have 900 American troops that are in that area in northeastern Syria. They're fighting an anti-ISIS mission. In fact, just in the past couple of days, the United States has taken almost 100 strikes against ISIS stronghold locations since the fall of Assad. So many Americans don't know that the United States is still fighting a war against terrorism, and ISIS in particular there. There are literally thousands of ISIS prisoners that are being held in that area in jails that are run by the Kurds. So that is a very important area. The challenge is the Turks consider the Kurds terrorists, and they're at active war against them. And they've had multiple times that they've crossed the border from Turkey into northeastern Syria to be able to attack those forces. So if the United States withdraws, we'll see a proliferation of ISIS through that area. The Turks will actually slaughter the Kurds in that area. So that area is also a very tenuous, very difficult zone that the United States has a national interest in.
Are you concerned about the influence of Turkey in this vacuum that we now have in Syria?
I am very concerned about that. Turkey has been actively supporting some of the rebels that have been fighting against Assad because Turkey doesn't want to see the overrun from that into their country. But they're also very active in fighting against the Kurds, who they hate, who we actually ally with. So they are a NATO ally. Turkey has been an ally long term, but Erdogan has not been predictable, nor consistent, and nor peace-loving, quite frankly, in this process. He interacts with Russia as much as he interacts with us, though he is a NATO ally. So it is a very difficult time, not only for Syria, but also for the future of that alliance with NATO and with Turkey.
We just have about a minute left, Senator Lankford. The incoming administration, the Trump administration, what steps do they need to take, in your opinion, to bring greater stability to this region?
Well, they should do a couple of things. They should tell Russia to be able to get out, as Russia has now fled from Syria. They were one of the major stabilizing forces. They need to tell Iran to be able to get out of Syria. That's not their business. Iran is using Syria as a proxy to then attack Israel. So if we're going to stand with Israel, we need to stand for Iran getting out of Israel and Russia Iran out of Syria and Russia out of Syria. But we also need to stand with those Kurds. If we walk away from the Kurds and they get slaughtered by the Turks, no nation anywhere on earth will partner with the United States for a very long time, because they'll say, you'll stand with us when it's convenient for you, and then when it's not convenient, we'll be slaughtered. And so that will affect our national policy for a very long time. Syria needs to evaluate what happens next with Syria. That's not our country. That's not our war. But we do have an ally there, and we should stand with them.
Yeah, completely understand and agree. Senator James Lankford, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Good to see you again.
All right.